Welcome, everyone. Before we get started, can we just do a quick shout out from everyone who is on Zoom? Cliff, you want to start?
Hello, my name is Cliff Alexander. I'm with UTO CNC Group. I am the videographer, video editor, digital storyteller.
Thank you, Clifford Alexander. Sam, you're next on our list.
Oh, you got it. My name is Sam Becker. I am the executive director for creative and communications on the CNC team.
Excellent. Wynn, you're up.
Yeah. You're on mute. You're not aware, or
okay.
Maybe he can't hear.
Moving on, that's us in the room. Hi, Casey.
Good afternoon. My name is Casey Davis, and I am an instructional designer and trainer for the ISD&T team at UTO.
Amazing. Thank you for joining us. Laura, welcome.
Hello, hello. I am Larry Geringer, and I do content strategy and community engagement with the CNC team.
Yay! Welcome to your first campfire.
Is there anyone else on the...
Yeah, is there anyone else?
No, I think that's it.
Okay.
Excellent.
Yeah, then it's just
That's just you. Okay, cool.
Erin, do you want to?
So, Erin Morrow, event coordinator for the CNC team.
Michelle Benham, Trust Network Product Manager.
Hi, Michelle. Nice to meet you.
What's your name? Michelle Benham.
Sandy Johnson, Strategic Finance Business Office.
Claude Archie, the instructional design and training team.
Melissa Bakutis, the messaging and collaboration team.
Bonnie LeBlanc, what do I do?
My boss?
Yeah.
Chris Eaton, software release management, and not interactive today.
That is not true.
Danielle Batal-Field from the Strategic Implementation Office.
Valerie Garcia, Strategic Sourcing Manager.
Karina Basiglio, Camille, sometimes, Communication Specialist, CMC.
Allison Gallo, Content Strategist and Lead for CNC.
And Tristan Ellman, Editorial Specialist for CNC.
And we thank you all so much for coming and being with us today to discuss advancing your leadership toolkit via LinkedIn, and we are so happy to kick this off. First, we want to start with, when you're engaging on LinkedIn and you're engaging with us at UTO, please always utilize ForksUpUTO. It's our overall hashtag. We've been using it for the last 3 months since July 1. And hold on, I'll wait till, there we go. ForksUpUTO is what we've been using for our social media, and it's how everything filters through hashtag for us. So please utilize that when you are using LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram,
And if you're not aware,
anything else.
our LinkedIn name is just University Technology Office. And it's Arizona.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's hard to find
It is.
us on various things because there's other university technology offices. But we're on Twitter.
Yeah.
But we're definitely not known as Arizona.
We are not.
Oh, I also just want to give
Karina and Tristan, what happens if someone posts with ForksUpUTO on LinkedIn? What might happen to them?
They're going to get a share.
Yeah.
Very possibly, yes. So that's the great news. If you are doing something, you're involved in an event that's taking place at maybe a partner organization, maybe it's a vendor visit, maybe it is you're meeting with a school or someone on campus, you're partnering on an initiative. Those are great experiences to share photos from. And if you use that hashtag, that's how we know that you've posted, so that we could actually share your face and your developments on our brand page.
That's awesome. Sandy says she's doing it right now.
Because we're turning in pictures for the Innovation Day.
Oh, good.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell Lisa to use that.
Please do.
I also want to just give a shout out while I have a captive audience. We have in the corner there, it's a Slack channel, UTO Comms Ambassadors. As part of another initiative, we're doing a monthly publication, which we just launched I need to remind everyone about again today. But we're sourcing stories from all across UTO. We want to hear what's going on. We have a Google Doc template. If you just put in some information, I'll work some magic with it and reach back out to you. So jump in there if you feel so inclined. But anyway.
Thank you, Tristan.
Yeah.
If anyone hasn't checked it out, the UTO Source is our new monthly magazine that we are publishing with everybody's stories. So that will be really, really fun. We'd love to include you. So today we're going to have 3 agenda topics. We're going to welcome to LinkedIn, link in to LinkedIn, our top 5 tips, and then we'll talk a little bit about advancing your leadership and networking through LinkedIn. So before we get going, kind of wanted to make this interactive, Chris. And we want to sort of gauge the levels of LinkedIn users here in our group. So, how many of you have a LinkedIn?
Does anyone not have a LinkedIn?
On the phone? Everyone have a LinkedIn?
All right, we're done. Let's see here.
Okay, great. Wrapping up. How often do you use LinkedIn? Just shout it out.
Once a month.
Not very much.
Okay.
Daily.
Daily. We got a daily in here.
Yeah.
Okay. We use
We
it daily.
use it daily now.
Yeah.
Now
we do. How are you using LinkedIn when you're using it daily?
Yeah,
So as someone new to this organization, it helps me to put a little more context around someone, to look someone up that I've just met and see what things we might have in common. But then I also use it for professional development. I mean, it's just one of the few social networks that I'll scroll when I have a few minutes. And because I'm following different people and things that align with my interests, I find out about, I have read short little articles or find out about things.
One of the few networks that you scroll and don't feel bad about it afterwards.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Can we quote you? No. Anybody else? What are you using LinkedIn for?
When you check in
When
monthly,
you're using
is it,
Anyone?
Groups.
Okay.
So the Project Management Network at ASU has a presence on LinkedIn. And when I say we, so there's that one. And then I also started an Arizona chapter for the Association of Change Management Professionals. And we're trying out to see if LinkedIn would be a proper platform as well. So groups, that's my point.
That's wonderful. Okay. Well, we have a nice wide array in here, so that's awesome.
yeah.
So, thank you, Erin. Next slide.
I recently used it because it was advertised on a student worker resume that we got, and I clicked on the link, and it was a broken link.
Oh, no.
To their LinkedIn?
Yeah, so if you're ever putting your LinkedIn on your resume, just make sure it goes somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, that's just a good life tip.
Yeah, I know.
Don't put a frozen link
Yeah.
anywhere.
A supplier had it on his signature.
Yeah.
I personally use it when I'm looking for like different career opportunities for after college. So I'm graduating in 2020. So because of that, I'm always on there looking for what different job opportunities are opening up, not just within this time frame, because they do have times where you can see jobs that are going to be opening up around that same time that you're maybe looking for another job opportunity.
Yeah, I haven't used it in 5 years. I primarily used it to find a job back then.
Yeah.
But since I've been working here, I rarely use it. It's every once in a while, someone will communicate with me and say like, happy work anniversary, or
Yes. That is
along those
nice.
lines, and that's really the only
I think our goal with this too is to show you how to use it while you're not looking for a job.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm here. Because I know I'm not using it effectively. So
Yeah.
that's why I decided to come today, because it sounds like I should be using it a lot more.
Yeah. Thank you.
It is your digital resume.
Yeah.
So if anyone doesn't know, LinkedIn Learning is available at Recruiter Edge.
Yeah.
So let me just point that out, which has, over probably 10,000 free to us, paid for learning paths that can turn into certificates. I think, Karina, you were about to mention that.
Yeah.
And that it shows like what you completed, like a digital badge of training that you take.
That's one of the added benefits of using LinkedIn. So, simply put, LinkedIn is a social network platform for your professional life. And like we said, it really is your digital resume, your digital.
It's a dynamic resume because
Yep.
you can change that at any time. Your resume is front and back, maybe it's just one pager, and it just says what your experience is, kind of a short, stint of what your skills are, and kind of who you are, but it doesn't show who you are as a working professional, as a person within your organization, which is something that LinkedIn can definitely expound upon, and through not just your own input, or it's also through the input of others, the input of your own network, professional and almost sometimes social, because you interact with these people daily.
Thank you, Erin. So, without further ado, I'm going to pass this to Sam, where she's going to discuss how everything happens on LinkedIn.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much to the whole team and everyone for sharing your experiences with LinkedIn, on the front end of this call. I'm a person who likes icons, but even I started getting a little squeamish on the icons here because there were so many things that happen on LinkedIn that I just put a plus sign. I had too many icons. So I was like, okay. So on the front end, I would consider the first two icons to be, I'm so sorry, I can't see the room. It might've been Chris or whoever said that they used LinkedIn 5 years ago to get this job. Rob. Okay. I can't see it. I'm sorry, I'm going into a blind. The first kind of two icons represent that story, right? You're looking for a job, you're waiting, you're trying to find the right job, and then either you find the right job or the right job finds you based on LinkedIn's recruiting platform. And so how many people, show of hands, have gotten those messages on LinkedIn trying to recruit you for various jobs and thought, oh, okay, well, why is this happening? Well, apparently there is a handy feature on LinkedIn where you can flag yourself on or off in terms of being open for recruiters. So that's just something really, really is interesting to know about LinkedIn is you actually have to go in and make that designation. And then kind of the other two icons to the side represent the everything else, right? Once you're engaged in your career, once you got the job of your dreams, you're at UTO where you want to be. It's all about what comes next. So that plus sign represents new people to add into your network as you meet new people in your day-to-day. Also represents new opportunities in terms of education and training, especially with the integration of lynda.com. And the final icon really represents thought leadership. So LinkedIn becomes your social media, your social media professional persona, the articulation and the culmination of where you've been and where you're going. And so some might say that you have a social responsibility to pay your wisdom forward. And so LinkedIn is the professional platform, the premier platform for sharing your thought leadership and absorbing other people's and really having that idea exchange. So not only are you adding people to your network, but you're also adding new ideas and knowledge and skills to your arsenal. Next slide. And so really this type of campfire, it's meant to be a jumping off point. Sure enough, of course, there's going to be people with varying degrees of usage and comfort level with Slack. So we really tried to pinpoint 5 good starter tips. Though if you tell us, hey, we want to learn more or we want to get to the next level, we'd love to get that kind of feedback. And I'm sure we could come up with some future programming on, maybe the next 5 tips, as we build towards, becoming social media and LinkedIn all-stars here. So here's our top 5 tips. Next slide. So here's just a snapshot of kind of what the whole group will be leading you through. So if you remember nothing else from this campfire chat, here are just kind of 5 things to keep in mind as you're engaging on LinkedIn. And we will share this slide deck with you via Slack, so you have a copy of it. So it's all about your headshot and tagline, which is, think of it as the front door to your house, right? Generally, you're not going to go into a building where the windows are shuttered off and things look dilapidated, and like you might get bit by a raccoon once you go inside, right? You want it to look like there's signs of life in there. 2 is research prior to posting, and that's all about making sure that you are putting out not only informed and digitally literate or material, of course, but it also has to do with making sure that you're getting you're setting yourself up for the most possible engagement. And tip number 3 is all about engagement as well. It's all about how to incorporate visuals, even when you just have some text to post. 4 is all about inviting in others by directly conjuring them. And then 5 is all about social media as a place to read, and actually not just being a poster, but being also a good friend on LinkedIn. And so our first tip, I'll kick off and then I'll turn back to members of the CNC team, is all about your headshot and your tagline being the gateway to your LinkedIn profile and the gateway to everything. And so I know I can't see the room, but show of hands anyways, and if you're in Zoom in the chat, feel free to acknowledge how many of you have gone and got your photo shots, your headshots, or are going to get headshots from Culture Weavers from Cliff today.
We've got a couple in here.
Yeah. Do you have to go somewhere to do that?
Just down in the parking lot when we're done.
And they're complimentary.
You're already here.
I'm already here.
That's me. I'm going to just show everyone.
Yeah, the camera's not working at all, so it's finicky a lot.
Yeah, Sam, decent, a scattering to let you
Got
know.
it. Okay, good to know. Well, something that we'll try to do more of around here is making sure that there's opportunities for the UTO family to get professional headshots, because it's important to put our best foot or face forward. And so if it's not today, definitely finding opportunities to do so will be, something we do moving forward. And big thank you to the Culture Weavers for organizing today's photo grabbing event. But just some quick photo tips. I know some things sometimes feel like pointing out the obvious, but actually there's kind of some things that I am learning about myself. So considering your power pose is kind of something new to me. What is a power pose? What stance do you want to make in your picture? Are you going to have your head tilted, which means maybe that you might slightly be listening? So there are certain things to take into consideration for your headshot. Certainly acknowledging that it's a very, very small circle and many people are engaging with your profile on mobile. So making sure that it's a close up enough photo for people to have a good read on who you are and for be able to see your face clearly. So make sure your face is prominent, nothing is blurred. If it's, really, really close up, maybe you don't need to consider your power pose, but if it's a slightly step back, you might, want to be considering what you're doing with your hands and arms. Ensure your face is shown clearly. Again, I guess it's so important that I've said it twice with a plainish backdrop. Business professional attire, please. Show off your favorite band tees on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, really wherever else, but LinkedIn really is that platform for your favorite, your go-to, business professional attire. And make sure in your photo, as much as we love our cats, our dogs, our kids, our spouses, our significant others, our friends, when we ran that time where we ran into Weird Al Yankovic at a bathroom at an airport, true story. LinkedIn is actually supposed to be the platform where you're showcasing yourself and your skills and what your professional persona is, as Allison mentioned. So please make sure that your photo is just of you. Next up, you'll notice in sort of this exemplar of a LinkedIn headshot and tagline I've shared, there's a tagline underneath your photo. What should go in that tagline? Well, there's a couple things that automatically populate. So it's going to show if you have 500 and more connections, or if you have less than 500 connections, it's going to generally give an exact amount. There's going to be the opportunity to connect with you and to message you. And it's generally going to list a subset of your job experiences. And so making sure that your digital resume, as Karina put it, within LinkedIn is up to date is important. And that you're connecting those jobs to the actual places, those workplaces. So As you can see from Jeremy's example on the screen, Jeremy works at the Teaching Institute for Excellence in STEM, and he used to work at Cleveland State University. In his digital resume, in his LinkedIn profile, he's actually linked those jobs to those workplaces formally, through those brand pages. So they're coming up with logos of those brands, which implies trust, right? It's not a question mark, or if you're on Twitter, sometimes you see those broken eggs. These are actual, real, legitimate places. Now, Jeremy is someone I know and in my network, and I know that in the last couple of years, Jeremy was actually looking for a new role. So Jeremy went in and he updated his tagline from his current position title, where he used to be, used to say what his job was. He wanted people to know that he was whatever director, at whatever organization. So people looking to make contact with the director of IT or whatever it was within that organization knew right away that he would be the person to contact, which is a great use of LinkedIn, making sure that you're making yourself available to people that you meet at road shows, at events, and meetings around ASU. After a meeting at ASU, I always go and I try to find that person if I'm not linked in to them already. And if I don't see a clear photo of them and the tagline doesn't make it apparent that's clearly the Jeremy Shore I just spoke to, I might be hesitant to reach out and make that connection. So some good things to know. If you're looking to make sure to signify that you're the point person for something at the place you work and you want people to know that they can connect with you and message you about related items of business, it may be great to have to default to your current position title as your tagline. Or if potentially you're looking to make a move, whether it's within your organization or elsewhere, or you're otherwise trying to paint a more holistic view of what you're doing, you may think about a couple skills to highlight, or your top talents that you're applying in your current position or wish to apply in future positions that you're working on now, and make sure to keep it short. So in Jeremy's example, he led with an action word, passionate, about innovating the instructional experience for learners of all ages. So right away, Jeremy is telling us that he's a passionate person. Okay, we see some emotion in there. It's not always easy to get pathos across in a tagline. Innovating says to me, he's an innovator. He wants to do new and exciting things, maybe not the standard. Instructional experience, I think learning right away, and learning and training. Learners of all ages, I think, okay, cradle to grave, lifelong learning, K through 12, higher ed, not just one or the other. And then next, he has his major certifications next to his tagline. He signified that he's an MBA, which may be a very important skill set for the next move in his career, or even notoriety in his existing one, as well as a very important certification for his specific job and industry, which is a CETL certification, or a Certified Education Technology Leader, which is something you can get in the K through 12 sphere. So that is a good example of tip number one. Before we go to the next tip, any questions about this one? Anyone have any burning questions about photos, taglines?
Well, the only thing I would ask, Sam, is it has to be perfectly straight on, or should it be like a quarter one way or another? I mean, it's just one of those little questions that someone would probably ask right there.
Yeah, great question, Cliff. I think use your best judgment. I mean, LinkedIn's not all about making sure that every photo is the same and everything is completely uniform. So I think these tips kind of here on the side or featured on the slide are just good best practices. But whether your power pose is, maybe your head tilted to the side a little, or maybe it's an action shot a professional photographer took of you making a really good point at a conference. Those are things that you can decide in a nuanced manner that are unique to your personality. So as long as you kind of follow the general guide of being professional and making sure your face is clear, you do have some wiggle room to showcase your personality a bit.
Perfect.
Thank you. All right, next tip, Tristan.
Yeah, so this is research prior to posting is this tip, and what we mean by that is kind of figure out what trend you're kind of fitting into. Now that you can break out a trend and be your own individual self as well. But this is kind of a testimonial thing here, because I was and still not great about using hashtags. It's just not something that I really think about. It feels a little silly. I think a lot of people think like that. Then on Instagram, I used the hashtag bankrupt as a joke. And then I got so many likes, and that's like an aside. But generally, I always think, like, who's out there, like, searching for hashtags or following hashtags? And in fact, people do. And you do find a lot of good content that way. So we've already mentioned the forks of UTO to kind of create our own ecosystem and kind of group to follow. But generally, as I've been posting more to LinkedIn and elsewhere, I've been trying to look into what relevant hashtags and trends are out there. We just did National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, which does have a significant traction out there on social media. And it's interesting to see what posts, how they perform when you do or do not use hashtags. Generally, you just get a lot more views and engagements, which are likes, comments, click-throughs, all that kind of stuff. And it's not just about being popular or whatever, I guess. It's not just like those numbers. Especially in the case of LinkedIn, you just want eyes, whether you're looking elsewhere or moving within your organization. And the networking aspect of LinkedIn, obviously, I think it's a little bit more productive to kind of use the hashtags on LinkedIn and to kind of engage in that way than necessarily following like a hashtag on Instagram, which is a little bit more fun and passive. So that's pretty much my 2 cents on the hashtag thing. I've noticed a lot of increased engagement and use out of our posts when we've really doubled down on that. And you don't want to make it like an insane, string of hashtags. I think on LinkedIn, I think a few more are accessible. Sam, maybe correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I know on Twitter, you don't want to do more than 2 or 3. On Instagram, people use a ton. I think LinkedIn's kind of an in-between, so where like 4 or 5 or 6, you just don't want to overload people with those hash marks and blue hyperlinks. I think they just check out when they see that.
And keep in mind that also on LinkedIn, there are certain things that you can do to make sure that your profile, what you're seeing on your profile, is related to what you like. What are your interests? What is your field that you're in or aspiring to be in? And you can identify those. When you identify those are hashtags. So those come up as hashtags. So anytime somebody hashtags, for example, ASD cybersecurity, it's going to come up on your LinkedIn, on your radar. So you'll always be able to see kind of what is going on in this field, what is going on in this topic that I'm currently interested in.
Can I share a quick testimonial?
Yeah, of course.
Hopefully it's fast. This one's
No.
super relevant, but I was like you where I wasn't really following the hashtags until I found out my friend was on a reality show recently for high-end real estate, and one of her co-stars actually got the job because they simply went through and looked for LA real estate or LA realtor, and they found her profile on Instagram because of that, and she landed the job.
Yeah, no, so and
funny.
And it's that again. This is kind of it's not. It sounds like it's comparing apples and oranges, but it is similar psychology, I guess. But on Instagram, influencers or any of these people, they get those kind of things because they use the hashtags. Or I guess those are technically job opportunities. So those hashtags definitely exist out there, and people crawl through that stuff. So. That's funny.
We were impressed. We were just pulling metrics for Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and we got thousands of impressions on photos we used. Hashtag information security, hashtag National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I mean, I was shocked.
And there's something to be said about using hashtags that people would realistically use and not being too broad.
Yeah.
Hashtag technology or something might just, it'll be a million, but then also doing hashtag I went to the grocery store today or something. It's like too specific. You see people do hashtags like that. It's kind of a joke in those cases. But there is something to be said about being too specific with the hashtags as well. I think that addresses everything I had to say about researching.
Yeah, a good way I like to distinguish it is if some of you are on Facebook, think of Facebook as sort of a walled garden. No one can kind of get into your life unless you accept a friend request. And so hashtags don't really come into play much because you're not asking for people to discover your profile, right? You want to remain private. LinkedIn, to a large extent, is very public. You're generally on LinkedIn because you want to be public. This is your public professional persona. And so adding hashtags makes you more discoverable. And so if you're promoting an event and you want to promote it to people beyond just your network, let's say you have, your 500 connections, but maybe you've just joined this industry anew and you're looking to build more connections in your industry. Using industry-specific hashtags is automatically going to make you post more discoverable to new audiences and open you up to new connections and opportunities.
I keep remembering things as we talk. Another thing with hashtags, I don't know if this is 100% the case on LinkedIn, but on Instagram and Twitter, you can see how many tweets have used that hashtag. So that can also help you kind of narrow down what might be too specific and what might be too broad, because technology probably has 3.4 million tweets, with that. So anyways, any questions on that or anecdotes? I'm going to start using hashtag LA Realty.
Is everyone going to go home and use hashtags?
It's a learning process. So now we're just going to go over visuals on LinkedIn. We associate visuals with social media, with generally Instagram, sometimes Twitter, but Instagram is your quote unquote visual social media. But LinkedIn has the opportunity to provide visuals, but in a professional way. You can add photos, you can add videos, slideshows, presentations, and let's say you did, for example, something that was visual that is associated with your job, with your position, and maybe you're a graphic designer and you made this awesome, huge graphic for like an event or something. You want to post that. Your profile, your LinkedIn profile is, like I said, it's your dynamic resume. So at the end of the day, you can't put you can't put your entire portfolio onto a normal resume, but you can add it all in to your actual profile. And in fact, let's say you've done multiple projects for different, different jobs that you had. Maybe at your last job, you did 10 really cool projects that you put in your portfolio that are key. You can actually link those to that specific job and then go to your next job at UTO and say, okay, these are the other projects that I've worked on here in this position. The brain processes visuals faster than it does text. If you look at a picture, you're going to understand what is this representation that we see here. This, of course, that's a picture. That's a camera that you're seeing. But your brain already processed that the moment you saw it, instead of having to read, this is a camera. So essentially, that's why we love to use, different visuals, different videos. In this case here, we did have a video for National Cybersecurity Month, and we wanted to definitely showcase that. And we wanted to, have everybody see what we did, but in a very short span. We don't want everybody to have to go backwards and read every tweet that we sent out, every LinkedIn post that we shared, every post that we shared on Instagram to see what happened during Cybersecurity Month. We wanted to go ahead and encompass everything that we did in a video, because that video is going to take 30 seconds maybe. I don't remember how long this one is, but it'll take 30 seconds. You're going to watch it and you're going to say, wow, this is what they did. This was their intent for Cybersecurity Month. This was their goal. We can show that we reached that goal visually. But again, like I said, you can use your visuals on your resume instead of on your actual paper resume. So, when maybe you created a video, or maybe there's a video for your institution or your organization, company that encompasses what your mission of that company is. And you can put that not only in your, like I said, your experience, but in your About Me. You can link it in there, so all somebody has to do is click on that and play it. It's very dynamic, and you get shares from that too. Sometimes people look at it and they're like, wow, this is an incredible video, or this is an incredible video or visual, and they'll maybe repost those. So has any of you guys ever used, visuals within your resume, maybe to animate it a little bit more? I'm sorry, I'm saying resume because I really do use LinkedIn as my resume. Have any of you guys ever used it within your profiles, posted videos to just represent something that maybe you had thoughts on? No?
Yes.
Really?
I have an actual question, and this might be an interesting, well, yeah, I have an actual, a real question as opposed to a fake one. Because this is not planned, this question, I just thought of it. Does LinkedIn let you use GIFs?
Actually, I believe that it does.
And I know that's not like always a super professional thing to do, but I do think the professional world is evolving a little bit where you can have a little leeway of, because that's something you don't have to create or you just find one and you're like, it's kind of relevant, but as long as it's appropriate.
You can find gifts that are maybe different.
Sam's got her hand up. She's got a point.
Go ahead.
On the Creative and Communications website, on our webpage, under Templates and Resources, there's a link to ASU sanctioned GIFs that could be used across a variety of social media platforms. So ASU makes them, and they also use them. We're also looking at using GIFs to, to represent more of our work. We made, for example, some GIFs to represent very basic actions you can take on Slack, such as how to pin something or how to star something. So GIFs are a great example of a visual. And so I think sometimes the question isn't, should you post a visual? I think the answer is yes. Of course, an image is going to attract someone more than just text is going to. This has been proven time and time again. And so what happens if you don't inherently have a photo or an image to point to? A couple things. When you're sharing a link, that link should automatically generate an image. LinkedIn, Twitter, others, I'm sure this is not going to be a new term for some of you. This is an IT organization. How many of you have heard the term social graph? I don't know how many people are raising their hands in the room, but anyone? No one. Okay, so social graph is generally the thing that enables a photo or something to populate when you just put a link in Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook. You've got, it never is just a raw link. It always kind of pops up with a nice little visual representation of the story. So platforms like LinkedIn make it much easier because not all websites do a really good job of upkeeping their social graph and doing that integration. So sometimes I'll go and post something on LinkedIn and I'll realize, it's not automatically populating an image for me. What do? LinkedIn gives you the ability to edit and force what image that you want to show. And so you could, for example, decide you could take a screenshot of the website, whatever it is that you want to kind of show your audience to give them a sense of what's behind the link, which again is going to inspire a little bit more trust and confidence for a user to click on something rather than just a raw link. Now, what if you want to use an image for all the reasons that Allison mentioned, but you're not linking to something, you just need an image? Well, in some cases, when I just want to say something meaningful, I might find an image from my own life that resonates. It might be a picture from a vacation I took. If I wanted to make it a little bit more personal, it might be a beautiful landscape shot that I took, or something maybe in the Creative Commons or Wikimedia Commons, which are great platforms to get free attributed photos from. Also on our website is links to ASU stock photography if you just wanted to pull in an ASU sanctioned photo of the campus or students or faculty and use to pull from. So there are ways to grab these visuals and include them in your posts more prominently. I hope that helps.
And just the last thing I wanted to expound upon within visuals, you mentioned GIFs, and that's seriously, it's an important thing. We see it as very, fun and playful, but you can make your own GIFs. Sometimes you see a video and there's just one small 5-second clip or 5-second area of that video or visual that you want to showcase. And if you guys have questions about how to do this after, I'd be happy to just go ahead and Slack me and I'll explain how to do this. But you can make your own GIFs. It's not very hard. You can literally go ahead and take that 5-second clip and post it because it might be the only part of that video. You might not want to post that whole 5-minute video because it's not relevant to the exact content that you're currently posting. It might not have anything to do with it except for this small visual is a valid representation of, maybe I saw something in the in ASU highlights that was really important and it had to do with engage or empower. So I'll go ahead and I'll go on to one of the websites that we use, and like I said, just Slack me and I'll go ahead and share all those things with you guys. But you can clip that small portion, maybe it's of Lev talking, maybe it's just of the interactions that we're all having, and post it within your profile. So don't ever be afraid to actually, create your own content. I know visually it might seem super daunting, but visuals to create, there's a lot of things that visuals or that you can create that aren't very difficult, that are maybe 2 clicks of a button and you just choosing the area that you want to, to use in that video. So.
I think you might actually, like if you're trying to get it on your About section in your profile, you might have to link out to Giphy, because I just used the upload on the dancing foam finger and then the static image. Thing. But I don't think it's supported in that direct way.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. Giphy, that's the only one that makes me kind of sad, is that you can't put like how you can in Slack and have kind of a reaction to it, or a reaction to some content, or maybe just a reaction to your own profile. But like I said, when you click into it and somebody sees that first, image or video or GIF pop up, they know what you're talking about.
I know a key question from this section is it GIF or GIF, and I'm here to tell you it's GIF.
GIF is
you don't say GIF, do you?
Yeah.
Samantha,
that's how I know. GIF is peanut butter.
Don't act like English has any rules to it. Because that's not gonna
All just for the sake of time, we have several tips and other stuff to get through. I'm so happy that Allison is inside of this conversation, and I know she's made herself available. Gratefully, thank you, Allison, for follow-ups on visuals.
Yep. All right, so our fourth tip here, and I guess I'll move a little bit more quickly since we only have 15 minutes here. But this is kind of similar in tone, I guess, to the hashtag point. I felt a little silly using hashtags. I feel a little bit more silly tagging people that maybe I don't know super well, or, it just feels like maybe, it just feels not invasive, but a little strange. But that's the whole point of social platforms, is to be social. And every time someone's tagged me in something, I'm never like, oh, who's this weirdo? It's always, it is like, oh, they like thought of me and they think this is relevant to me. And it's like, it's never a strange, unless they're saying something weird, which has also happened. But, generally, like when we post stuff to LinkedIn, we kind of tag the people either involved in the thing that we're publishing. But that's kind of from our perspective of kind of creating that content. A lot of people will just, in comments to things, tag people because they're like, hey, just pumping this to your attention. It's a little CC, basically. I think tagging people is a good way to engage more specifically than a hashtag. There's something to be said about kind of asking those questions, why are you tagging them and what is relevant, because you don't just want to be like someone who keeps spamming someone's name or whatever. But generally, I think it's a good little networking thing. It's like, hey, this should be pretty.
Another thing too, with hashtags, with tagging people, is it works similarly to hashtags. To if you tag someone, you're exposing your post to their audience too, right? So if for example, I will admit to being that person on UTO's post. I will tag Lev a lot on our branded post, because Lev has a very, very large network, and because he's tagged, it might show up on his friends, on his network's news feeds. Lev Gonick was mentioned in a post. And so it has a similar effect, but more people-focused rather than thing-focused. A hashtag is thing or event-focused, and the tags are all people-focused.
It's also nice when, you can use that as a form of recognition. So if John Rome, I notice he does this a lot, will tag someone who worked on a project for him. Mm-hmm. Now that their network gets to see that John recognized them for something great for that person who put in the effort and is getting a small form of praise in the tag.
Yeah, that is really nice. Good point.
I think that's what we try to do, and I want to do it more and a little bit better with the UTO source that we are putting out monthly, is tagging just everyone involved in those stories. And I think I did a selection of them for this last one, but that's, always a good thing to highlight those people. Dan, do you want to take on the next tip?
You got it. So something to know about social media is it's a two-way street, and we need to remember that. And so pretend if social media and LinkedIn were actual life. Do you want to engage with the person who's walking down the hallway shouting about all their accomplishments and everything that they're working on? No, real life works is that when you're friends with someone, you not only tell them what you're up to, but you hear what they're up to, and then you tell the next person, hey, did you know my friend's working on this? I think that you'd really love to be involved. And so I hope Warwick doesn't mind. I use them as an example. I note that Warwick and many other of my UTO colleagues are very good at calling out other people at ASU's accomplishments, whether it's a team or an individual or an initiative. It's great to showcase the things that your colleagues are involved in, especially if you know the things that they're involved in are relevant to your network. You become not just connected, you become a connector, which increases your own value on LinkedIn, which in turn makes it valuable for people to connect with you, and it truly becomes a virtuous cycle. And so any questions about tips for being a better friend on LinkedIn and what to share and how to share it?
Try to make it a habit every day to go in and spend 15, 20 minutes, just go into LinkedIn, take a look at stuff. Because like I was pretty bad at, I'm really good at Facebook, but I'm really bad at LinkedIn. And so like that's what I've been trying to do, at least make it a 10 to 15 minute every day where I'm going in to, liking certain things, tagging certain other things. Casey puts out a really good article almost every other day, and like you know, a lot of times I'll share that or just like I'll click on that and try to read up on. I have a couple of friends of mine who are in Washington State. They'll do AR and VR type stuff, and I'll keep on tagging them and keep on posting those. It's just like certain things. You just make sure. In anything that you do in social media, you just got to make sure you do it at least once a day, 10, 15 minutes. You know, you don't turn it into a life career, but, you know, it does help out is if you just stay consistent every day on certain things. We're not talking about YouTube, but that was the one thing they're talking about on YouTube is if you're going to put out a video, put at least one out consistently a week. So that'd be my suggestion is just try to stay consistent.
Yeah, that's a good tip. And actually, on that original slide where we talked about how LinkedIn is for everything and everywhere, the last icon was all about thought leadership. And I'm glad Casey Davis is here with us today because Casey also leverages LinkedIn's built-in thought leadership platform, an article writing platform, and posts LinkedIn articles often that are super insightful and are a great kind of channel to share thought leadership. In a way that is more long form narrative and less snippets, the way that posts are. So if you have a larger message to tell or a larger story or a larger experience that really feels more blog-like and deserves more space than just a quick post, please do consider leveraging the LinkedIn article platform the way Casey has done.
Sam, I think this is also...
Yes, and I know we have just a little bit of time left, and I'm hoping the demand will be there maybe for a part 2 because there's so many more components and elements and nuances of LinkedIn. But this next part, and Casey was a great transition example over to advancing your leadership and networking, which gets us more towards that plus sign symbol and the thought leadership icon from the beginning of the presentation. You have your job, you're going along in your daily life. So how are you using kind of leadership as a value add platform for your career and for networking? We're going to kind of showcase some examples for you in the next couple of slides. But the fact of the matter is that you can consider LinkedIn a major platform for a variety of different things. Connecting with new people that you meet out in the industry, and making sure that you're not just necessarily leaving having exchanged business cards and then only to recycle those business cards a day later, but they're actually following up and making the connections so that become part of your network, so that you're engaging with content that's relevant to your industry by following hashtags, by following people. So you may notice that there's people that you can't friend or you can't reach out and connect with. Someone like Bill Gates, for example, he's full, right? He hasn't got so many LinkedIn connections that he can't possibly add in anymore. But what you can do for people that you want to learn from or people you want to follow is actually click the follow button, and you'll still be privy to all of their posts, which is something that's wonderful to do. So advancing your leadership and network isn't just about the people you know and come into contact with in your daily life and at conferences, but also about thought leaders in the field that you admire and that you aspire to, and making sure that you're following along with them. It's also a way to congratulate with someone when they change jobs. So someone earlier in the call mentioned, hey, I get notified that someone's congratulated me, happy work anniversary, or something along those lines. So LinkedIn is really great at sending out messages to people in your network when there is your change in your profile, like a new job or something along those lines. And so LinkedIn is a great way to formally reach out and say, hey, congratulations. And you watch when you make when you update a job on a resume, they get the same sort of treatment back. It's also great for messaging to make quality connections and to make recommendations and publicly acknowledge your team and others in your network. And I think that one of the biggest points Allison was driving home is advancing your leadership goes hand in hand with advancing your own content creation prowess. It's not just an engagement platform to consume and post, but to create new content in the form of articles and adding your thought leadership to existing news and updates, by lending your perspective. So I'm going to kick it back over to Allison to give some other examples. Thank you.
I'm actually going to get up because I think it's kind of important that you guys see everything here. We're going to go kind of fast, but here we have Jill Andrews, and she is part of the Enterprise Marketing Hub. So she's part of the Enterprise Marketing Hub. She's actually the Chief Creative Officer. We have here, first, like we said, you can see that she has 500 plus connections. In addition to that, here, when I was mentioning, you can put your visuals within your actual About Me, and I'm going to be on there short. Here is this video. It's about ASD number one in innovation. So you can click here. It's going to link out to another page, but you can go ahead and link your videos and photos and whatnot, and of course showcase the workplace and the type of work that you are involved with. Here is activity. So this is the stuff that she posts, but in activity you can see she's got 879 followers. So these are all of the people that you share something and tag her in it, and she reposts it, 879 other people are going to see that. Yeah. Whenever. Here we have Chris Richardson. Big thing, again, we did talk about followers. You can literally go up here and follow him, and it shows a small snippet of what he does and where he is in his career. You follow people who align with your goals, with your industry and your field. Here, you can actually, like I said, it's a dynamic resume. So dynamic is meaning you're not the only person to say, yeah, these are my skills, and I'm really good at this, because people lie on their resume. But here, you can actually have some backup saying, hey, yeah, I'm a great leader, I'm great at Excel, and I'm great at doing X, Y, and Z. Well, 10 people just endorsed you because they say, yeah, no, this person really is a great leader. And yeah, I have worked with this person on Excel documents. They create all of my spreadsheets. Because at the end of the day, the more endorsements that you have on each skill, the higher up there they're going to be, and they're going to be seen by different people within the community. And, here we have Excel. I know maybe most of you guys, or some of you guys know her. Here we're highlighting experience as a great way for us to grow your network. So here you see, this is where she started out. She started out as a web administrator in global outreach and extended education with the Attire School of Engineering. And then you can actually see how long she was in that position. Then up here you see that she is a UX analyst, or user experience analyst. And you can see that that is a job that she's currently in at the present. So you don't have to change that unless you change your job. Or let's say you add on another position, that'll add in and say, okay, I started this position here. And of course, always put the newest first. So you don't have to worry about when should I place, this job opportunity, or I'm in this job opportunity and in this team. How do I place that? LinkedIn will do that all for you. And then in here, we just went ahead and highlighted, again, within experience I mentioned, you can actually tag the things that you have done. This is Chris Richardson's page. But this is his content. These are the different plans that he's created when he was the Assistant Vice President in IT development. So you you can actually go in and see, okay, well, this person really did work really well on this project, and we want to hire them for a very similar position. You can see that there. Here, it says summaries in third person, okay, I'll have to move it, but that's, you don't have to move it. It shows here that people talk about themselves in the third person, essentially. You're not saying, I am this, that, and the other. I mean, you can, but when you talk about yourself in third person, it is a little bit more professional. It can be. And it's not just you hyping yourself up. It's showing this is the type of person that this user is that you're looking at. And this is what they've done. You can see that sometimes people spread it out within paragraphs, like Les did. And then here, Chris Richardson, what he did was he went and put it in sections. So he's a problem solver. What does that mean? He explains that at the top. What his bio is, what his profile overview is. So you can kind of get an understanding of what you're going to see on his LinkedIn profile before you actually go ahead and go in. And then the last one, engagement. There are networking opportunities at conferences, at events, and things such as that. So when you go ahead and you post, hey, I'm going to be here at Apex 2020, or 2019, sorry, it's not 2020 yet, at Apex 2019. So this person says, oh, wow, awesome, Carmen, I hope we cross paths, because they're going to be attending that event too, and that also goes ahead and boosts her LinkedIn, and then other people see this person is within this industry, let's go ahead and engage. And again, content that's relevant. For me, my content that's relevant to me is bionic marketing, which is kind of awesome. I have not read it yet. It just got posted on my LinkedIn. But I'm going to go through and I'm going to see, hey, is this content really relevant? And if it is, and I know it's relevant to other people in my community, I'm going to also go ahead and share it. Don't forget, be on the clock. So go get your headshots. Headshots are expensive. I don't know if you guys have ever paid for headshots, but if you have, they can cost quite a bit of money. So definitely go out to the parking lot, get your headshots, gear up, our pose, all
Yeah, I have friends who would charge upwards of close to $250 for a set of headshots.
That's cheap.
Well, we thank you all so much for being here today with us. We would love to continue this chat.
I just have one
Yes,
question before we close. Would you guys recommend a premium account? Because I'm getting a lot of requests to do that.
Premium.
What was that?
Sam?
Sorry, Sam, go ahead. What did you say?
No, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sounds like someone was responding to the question. I was my response too. I'll wait.
Premium accounts are really great. I see a lot more people who have premium accounts have 500 connections and above because you're paying for it at the end of the day. So if you're at a point where you're like, I want to start creating my own content and I want a little bit more access and control within my LinkedIn, definitely do a premium account. But if you're starting out, my recommendation is get to know LinkedIn. Figure out how you best maneuver LinkedIn and how to best maneuver LinkedIn, because for everybody, it's learning. It's a very big learning experience. You're going from social media like Instagram and Twitter to, I have to be very professional. You have to be conscious on every social media, by the way, like watch what you post, because it's always there, no matter if you delete it or not. But here, it is a professional setting, so you want to kind of learn first how to maneuver. That's what I recommend, because you're paying for it. It's a lot of, it ends up being a lot of money. So understand what you're paying for before you go in and pay for it. And then when you're like, oh, I'm flexible on here. I can post blogs, articles. I know they're going to get each of them 100 shares at the least. Go ahead and make it, a premium account. It does afford you a lot of different opportunities too.
It's great advice. Microsoft has enough money.
Personally, I don't think that any sort of premium account at this point is worth it unless you're really looking to get into the education and training, or it really depends what you're trying to do, but I don't have a premium account. I don't think a lot of leaders I know have one either.
Recruiting is a big market for them, right?
Yeah, recruiting is definitely a big market. But like I said, I've really only the people that I've seen who have really, really big networks have had it, and not everybody, again, like Sam said, but again,
a lot of times those aren't paid though. Those are just generally people that have big networks and are so basically the bottom line is I'd advise, if your goal is to boost your network and that's why you want premium, I would rethink, what your goals are, or, I'd advise against paying for followers in general is the best practice, because you're going to get quantity over quality.
We packed a lot in an hour.
Oh, I wanted to, Erin, in one of Erin's classes, they did some sort of a LinkedIn profile review rubric. And so there's each different section of LinkedIn that lays it all out, and it goes from professional, proficient, developing, incomplete. So you can sort of rate yourself, and gives you just like a good place to start. And if you're looking to revamp your LinkedIn.
So if you guys, I'm going to go ahead and everybody who is registered for this event will get an email or a Slack message. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to share it. But it's going to have a lot more than just the rubric in it, just little tidbits, tips and tricks and things about
LinkedIn. Will it be an electronic copy?
Yeah, it's going to be an electronic copy. And remember, LinkedIn is a sustainable way of networking. Like Sam said earlier, you're going to throw away business cards, or you're going to use them for one thing or another that's not a business card related something. So, definitely remember, we're such a sustainable school. Use LinkedIn as your sustainable networking opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for joining today. We can't wait to see you.